And joining us on the line now, Governor John Sununu, former Chief of Staff to George H.W. Bush, former Governor of New Hampshire, and author of a new book called The Quiet Man, The Indispensable Presidency of George H.W. Bush. Governor, good to have you this morning. How are you?
It's good to be on. Thanks for having me, gentlemen.
Well, we are pleased to have you. And look, you have been on this program before, and you've made the point that you've just sort of reached a point in your life where you can say exactly what's on your mind. You can just get it off your chest. You don't have to pull any punches, okay? So here's what the Donald said about Megyn Kelly after the debate. Let's run the little sound clip here.
You know, you could see there was blood coming out of her eyes, blood coming out of her wherever.
All right, so that was what got him in trouble. A lot of people said this is way beyond the pale. This is rude, crude, socially acceptable. The Donald has completely misunderstood, bogus. And this morning he said on the Today Show, he said, Megyn Kelly should be apologizing to me. So your take on what has happened, your take on the Donald.
It shows you how dumb Donald Trump is, right? He's the most significant TV channel for the Republican primary. He's running for the nomination on the Republican side, and he's dumb enough to pick a fight with the most significant channel in terms of communication. Now, it's a combination of oversized ego and not too bright.
All right, but hold on a second, because he has these people who absolutely adore him, and many people would listen to what you're saying and saying, "Well, you're a Bushy, you know."
I'm not. I haven't endorsed anybody.
Well, but you've just written a book about H.W. Bush.
Well, look, let's talk about Trump's, if you will, a hallmark position where he talked about immigration and building the wall. There's really not much difference amongst any of the Republican candidates on immigration. They're all saying the first thing you have to do immediately is seal the border. They're all saying you got to get a process in place to identify the 11 million undocumented aliens that are in the country, immigrant aliens, and get them documented so that there will be a process of workers being hired legally under E-Verify, and they're all saying there should be no easy path to citizenship. There's not a whit of difference amongst all the Republican candidates on that issue now, even though Trump has gotten all the visibility and publicity. So what will happen over time is people will stop reacting on the basis of bumper sticker statements and start thinking about who they want in the White House and which positions are going to differentiate amongst the candidates.
But, Governor Sununu, you've been in politics long enough to know that bumper stickers work. There's a reason why bumper sticker statements are bumper stickers, because it gets people fired up. You're right. Every candidate has said we got to seal the border. But only one candidate went out there and said, hey, these people are crossing our border illegally, and a lot of them are murderers and rapists, and they're committing crimes. And suddenly we have a national conversation about sanctuary cities and about who many of these illegal immigrants are when they're committing crimes. Isn't that a good thing for Republicans to have the conversation? And it did take Donald Trump to move it in that direction, instead of just saying, well, yes, we need to fix our broken immigration system, which everybody says.
Yeah, everybody says that. Look, he may have been the first one to do it, and he may be outlandish, and he may be a showman, but I don't need, and the country doesn't need P.T. Barnum as president.
All right.
The country needs the equivalent of someone like Ronald Reagan, who understands the needs of the country, somebody who can rally the country around a reasonable set of policies without dividing the country again. Look at what he's done already. He's actually perpetuated the same kind of division we're getting out of this administration. Yeah. I think people have to understand this is the beginning of the campaign. At the beginning of a campaign, no noise triumphs over substance. As the campaign moves on, substance begins to come to the top, and I think in the next 6 months, and it is 6 months before the first caucus and the first primary, we're going to see this thing evolve over time, and people are going to start looking at rational candidates.
I do agree that it's very early. I got to ask you, though, you were a vociferous defender of Mitt Romney in the last election. We loved having you on. You were everybody's favorite guest, supporting Mitt Romney. There was that moment at the beginning of the debate where Brett Baier asked all of the candidates to raise their hand if they would, if they've not ruled out an independent run. And Donald Trump, of course, said, listen, it depends. So let me ask you, if Donald Trump wins the nomination, will you campaign for him? You just called him P.T. Barnum. But if he does get the nomination, will you fight for him? Will you work for him?
The minute he makes a commitment to support the Republican nominee, then I'll give you an answer to that question. But until he makes a commitment to support the Republican nominee, until he makes that commitment, I don't think any of us have to make the equivalent commitment to him.
And let me go down that path with you, because I'm very concerned. Just let me give you the 20-second synopsis of things I think that could happen. The Donald gets frustrated. He makes the case to the American people, I'm not getting a fair shake from the media. Everybody's against me. To heck with the Republican Party. I'm going to go over here and run as an independent. And immediately we now have President Hillary.
That's correct. He would make the same mistake Ross Perot made.
Or alternatively, let's say somehow he does garner the nomination. There's going to be somebody else who says, you know what, there are a lot of Republicans who can't go along with Donald Trump, and they're going to run as a third party. Again, Hillary becomes president.
So the point you make is exactly the concern we should have, that the presence of this man in this campaign is disruptive and destructive to the country.
All right, setting aside Donald Trump for a second, if we could, there were actually 16 other candidates who were on the stage Thursday night. I wonder, from the perspective of a New Hampshire voter, you know them very well. Your family knows them very well. Who do you think impressed?
I think in terms of pure debate style, I think Rubio did a great job. I think John Kasich played to the home crowd pretty well. But frankly, for the most part, they all, for a lot of these guys, it was really the first forum of that kind with the kind of TV audience they've ever had. And considering that, I think they all did pretty well. Carly obviously did great in the early debate, it's a good start for them. There's going to be, I think, 9 or 10 more of these things. I don't know the exact number. Look, the nominee is going to come out of, in my opinion, out of a half a dozen at the top that will mature through the campaign cycle and will project the real substance that they have in getting things done in a political arena and being able to fix the problems the country has. And that's the 6-month challenge that those that have a real chance of being president have in front of them.
All right. Well, listen, Governor John Sununu, it is always a pleasure to have you on the program. Thanks for joining us.
And thanks for giving my book a plug. Folks are enjoying it, and the junkies are loving it.
Absolutely.
The Quiet Man, the indispensable presidency of George H.W. Bush. Thanks, John Sununu.
Thanks, guys.